My name's William. I'm a lived experience consultant for Amaze, and I'm here today to interview you, asking you questions about emotional regulation.
I'm Jackie. I'm the owner and director of KidLink Occupational Therapy, and I'm really interested in emotional regulation, especially in high school.
So what is self-regulation?
So self-regulation is our ability to understand and manage our responses in any given situation. I like to think of it as managing our bodies and our emotions and our behaviours, I suppose, to meet our own goals. I think when we think of self-regulation, we often think about emotional regulation because that's the thing that's often trickiest for us to control, and it can be quite confusing and overwhelming and really affect how we have success in different environments.
So why do we lose control of our emotions?
I think we mainly lose control of our emotions when our brain perceives that there's a threat and we don't feel that we have the skills to deal with that threat. So when our brain perceives a threat and we can't control it, that's where we might experience like a flight, fight or freeze response in regards to that. And that can feel really scary because our brain kind of kicks in this protective mechanism, and it can feel like something that we like to think we have a lot of control over our brain, but if we don't have the coping mechanisms in that moment, it can really trigger some automatic things for us, and we may, shut down, or we might really retreat, or we might get quite aggressive or overwhelmed. And that can be scary for us, but it can be scary for those around us as well. We can also lose control of our emotions when the social or the sensory or the cognitive demands are too much given what we can cope with or what skills we have in the moment.
What can we do to regulate our emotions?
Building our skills and our awareness. So one of the biggest things that we can do to build our emotional regulation skills is to really work on our self-awareness, our ability to detect what's going on and really notice how we're feeling and have the words to be able to articulate what that is. So if we can figure out what kinds of things are, I suppose, our triggers or things that really burn us out, then we can kind of manage those things, but it's equally as important to find those things that really recharge us. I think knowing yourself and knowing what depletes your energy and knowing what recharges your energy helps to, I suppose, put you in a place where you're best served to manage your emotions. So it's kind of like prevention.
So what are some examples of strategies that can be implemented at a personal level?
Making sure that we're advocating for ourselves in the school. There might be a trusted teacher that you can really communicate what your needs are. Sometimes that can be a parent that they really understand you and they can help you to collaborate with school to really figure out a way that's going to work best for you. Sometimes it might be seeing an OT, starting to learn about emotions and what these things are, and really tapping into our body cues and what our body's feeling and our emotional state. There are also other things like having a safe space or knowing what a safe space looks like for you in the school. So it's all about the things that you're in control of. There's also different things that we can place in our environment that can help us to support our participation in activities. So that could be things like timers and visuals and other organisational tools, access to sensory things that everyone in the classroom can have access to, earmuffs or headphones, or having that opportunity to listen to music and have those regular breaks, or be able to have a pass out card and be able to go for a bit of a walk or go and get a drink and just have a break from the crazy classroom. And all of those kinds of environmental things can make a big difference.
What can somebody do when someone gets overwhelmed, and what can you do with that information?
Everybody has, an internal scale that, ranges from things we find really easy to things we find really tricky. So I think knowing what those tricky things are, they tend to be the things that can trigger really overwhelming situations versus the things that we find easier to manage or the things that we find recharging. So I think building in that experience and making sure that we can kind of let go of that shame that we might feel around experiencing overwhelm and turning it into something that builds our self-awareness, and we can then implement things and come back to those person, environment or activity modifications that can really help us the next time these kinds of things come up.
And I guess it's also bringing about a feeling to the environment where you feel like you're supported and feel like you're listened to. And you mentioned a bit about shame and feeling supported through that. I guess that would help.
Learn about all the students in your class and how you can kind of help in those situations. I think that's really important. And then coupling it with, us being aware and learning about ourselves and embracing ourselves and being able to explain those needs to other kids so that we can work together and really help all the students to have a really supportive experience in the classroom.